Today, we're diving into the story of a man whose name is known all over the world, but whose personal transformation is one of the most incredible stories in history. Of course, I'm talking about Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, the man the world would come to know as the Mahatma, or Great Soul.
You know, to really get a sense of Gandhi's impact, you just have to hear what Albert Einstein said about him. Think about that. Einstein wasn't talking about some great king or a military conqueror. He was talking about a man whose only real weapons were his ideas.
And that's the big question, isn't it? How does a quiet, kind of conventional lawyer become a revolutionary leader who could literally shake the foundations of an empire? That's the journey we're going to explore.
So, our story kicks off not in India, but with a young man just trying to find his place in the world, armed with a British law degree and, by all accounts, a very shy personality. I mean, it's almost hard to imagine, right? This is Gandhi before he was the Mahatma. He's just arrived in South Africa for what was supposed to be a one-year job. This is a guy who was so nervous he literally couldn't bring himself to speak in court.
And then, the moment that changed absolutely everything. It wasn't some big political debate or a battle. It all started on a train. Gandhi had a perfectly valid first-class ticket, but he was about to have a head-on collision with the ugly reality of racial prejudice. They literally threw him off the train. And as he sat there, shivering through the night in that dark, cold station, he had a choice to make. He could have just packed his bags and gone back to India. Who would have blamed him? But he didn't. He decided to stay and fight. That night, an activist was born.
And that single decision sparked a fight that would last for more than 20 years. It was right there, in South Africa, not India, where Gandhi really forged the tools and the philosophy that would one day change the world.
You know, when you look at this timeline, what really jumps out is just how long he was there. 21 years. That's a huge chunk of his life. You can see the evolution from just a lawyer doing a job to a community organizer, and then in 1906 to the creator of this revolutionary new way of protesting. When he finally went back to India, he wasn't the same man who left. Not even close.
So what was this revolutionary idea? He called it Satyagraha. You can translate it as truth force or soul force. And it's important to get this, it wasn't about being passive. It was an active force. The whole point wasn't to crush your opponent, but to make them see the injustice of what they were doing, to appeal to their conscience. It was a whole new way to fight.
So, armed with this incredibly powerful new philosophy, a 45-year-old Gandhi returns to India to face the biggest challenge of his life, the British Empire.
He quickly rises to become the leader of the independence movement, and one of the first things he does is just so simple but so brilliant. He ditches the suit of a British-trained lawyer and starts wearing the simple loincloth of India's poorest villagers. Talk about a powerful message. It was a visual statement that said, "I am one of you."
And his plan? Well, it was basically a three-step playbook for taking on an empire without firing a single shot. Step 1, hit him in the wallet. That was Swadeshi. Boycott all their stuff, especially their textiles. Step 2, gum up the works. Paralyze their government through non-cooperation. And Step 3, defy them morally through mass civil disobedience. Just refuse to obey their unjust laws. And that third step, civil disobedience, well, it led to probably his most famous protest ever, the Salt March in 1930. To protest a British law that made it illegal for Indians to make their own salt, Gandhi decided to walk. He walked 400 kilometers all the way to the sea. So what happened? Well, this one simple act of walking to the sea lit a fire across the entire country. The British government totally panicked and responded by throwing over 60,000 Indians into prison. But it was too late. The world was watching, and it was a massive moral victory for the movement. But for all the victories and all the progress, the final chapter of India's independence is a deeply tragic one. A tragedy that Gandhi himself fought so hard to prevent.
And it all came down to this fundamental disagreement. Gandhi's dream was for one united India, where Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, everyone could live together in peace. But Muhammad Ali Jinnah and the Muslim League argued that Muslims would never be safe in a Hindu-majority country. They demanded their own separate nation, Pakistan.
When the British finally left in 1947, they partitioned the subcontinent, and the result was a human catastrophe. We're talking more than 10 million people torn from their homes in one of the largest and most violent mass migrations in history. It was just horrific. And just think about this.
On the very day that India finally achieves the independence he fought his whole life for, where is Gandhi? Is he in Delhi celebrating? No. He's in Calcutta, fasting, literally pleading for the violence between Hindus and Muslims to stop. His dream had been shattered.
And then, just 5 months later, the ultimate tragedy. The man who preached nonviolence his entire life was murdered. And the deepest irony of all, his killer wasn't British. He was a fellow Hindu, an extremist who thought Gandhi's calls for peace and tolerance were betrayal.
But here's the thing. You can kill a man, but you can't kill an idea. And Gandhi's idea, the power of nonviolent resistance, well, it was really just beginning its journey around the world.
I mean, just look at this legacy. Martin Luther King Jr. himself said it best. Christ gave us the goals and Mahatma Gandhi the tactics. From the civil rights movement in America, to Nelson Mandela's fight against apartheid in South Africa, to democracy movements all over the globe, Gandhi's playbook has been used time and time again to challenge injustice.
So that really leaves us with a final thought. Gandhi showed the world that one person, with a powerful idea, could be stronger than an empire. And in our own often turbulent times, it's worth asking ourselves, in a world that's still so full of conflict, just how powerful is that soul force today?